All right. Okay. Thank you so much for doing this, Justin. Thanks for being here.
I'm so grateful to be here with you, Ben.
Yeah, this is exciting. You have so much happening like right this minute. So I'm super excited that the timing worked out, that I got you while you're in Bali, before your big Bali retreat, right when your new TV show just launched, right when your meditation album came out. I was planning to talk all about your book, Stay Woke, but with so much other stuff coming up, I want to hear it all. So tell us, how are you feeling right now with all this coming up, everything happening all at once?
You know, I'll be really honest with you. And I hope this is helpful for people to resonate with. And I'm sure that you resonate with this, Ben, because I know that your world moves pretty fast as well. But there's all these beautiful, amazing things happening right now. And I feel really grateful for all of them happening. And I get to like express my purpose in all these powerful ways. And I think so many of us, we have these dreams sometimes, and we ask the universe for like, come on, universe, bring it. Like if the universe was like a faucet, we're like, okay, turn up the water pressure, like I'm ready.
Right.
And then when that water pressure turns up, you start to spill a little bit of water, right? And so
Right.
like I started to recognize that like my well-being started to sacrifice a little bit. Like I wasn't sleeping as much, like I wasn't, all of these kinds of things. I said, oh, wait. And I think it's such an important thing for us to remember is like, even as we're going after our purpose, like one of the messages that just came to me super, super clearly was, dude, if you're not well, none of this matters. If you're not well, all of this falls apart. Like,
Right.
because it can't come through the vessel that is you if your vessel is not strong, and it's so kind of cliche in a way, but I've really felt it these last few months with like a TV show, an album, a music album, all of it happening like literally at the same time.
Right.
And so it's been this balance of feeling super grateful, super excited, and then also the challenge of remembering, oh yeah, like I'm a human being and I deserve to take care of myself in this process as well. So
Right.
I just like to keep it super real, with people as we're going through it, because there's the light and the shadow of everything. And there's a lot of light, but the bigger the light, the more responsible we have to be for the shadow, I feel. So
That's for sure. I mean, the body is part of this process, and I, of course, like you said, I resonate with everything that you're saying. And something that one of my friends, Anna Lynn, who's been on the show a couple times, something that she always tells me is you have to treat the body like a baby.
I love that.
Yeah.
I
So
love that.
so take good care of the body. She says when the body's, when something comes up in the body, it's like, oh baby, oh sweetheart, what do you need? You
Yeah.
need a snack? You need a snuggle? You need a blanket?
Yeah.
Maybe a shower is what you need. Maybe you got to hit the gym or whatever. But she talks to the mind like an adult, where you're like, okay, all right, let's do this. Get it together.
Yeah.
No, yes, no, maybe so. That kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, and I think the main reason why it's super important to stay connected into the vessel and the well-being, which is really what we're teaching all together, right? Which is such a funny balance. It's like teaching about well-being and creating meditations for well-being and then not being well at the same time. It's like, what, And
Right.
so that paradox is so fascinating to witness. And I think for me, it's just really important for people to remember that, like, if we sacrifice our well-being enough and enough and enough, and we keep doing that again and again, then everything that we're thinking that we want on the external will fall apart. And
Right.
so it's self-care in a different way, not like taking baths. And I mean, we want to do all that stuff, right? Like, of course I want to take baths and get massages and eat, but it's like, there's a different level of really, like you said, like Anna Lynn says, taking care of it like a little baby and really nurturing what's there. So,
Right. Right.
yeah.
And it's like there is a part of you that really is a deserving young creature who, and it's like if you look at it from like a divine perspective, it's like Justin is my son. And it's
Mm,
like,
mm,
I need to take care of him. He's working hard. He's contributing, he's trying. And the only way I can take care of him, God speaking, the only
yeah.
way I can take care of him is through him doing it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. And yeah, yes. And amen. And
amen.
like, and and ashe aho. And like one of the things that I really feel when I think back to that inner child and like taking care of the little me that's always there
Right.
is just growing up being what I call myself a recovering overachiever. Just like a
Well, you're
chronic overachiever.
still
Well, yes, still, I'm not saying I'm going to just
faithful.
like sit back and do nothing, but like in terms of that like chronic overachievers like syndrome, like if I just do enough, like the mantra for me growing up, being a young, queer, closeted kid, like was if I just do enough, accomplish enough, achieve enough, then I'll finally be enough. Right. And I grew up like literally in a home with gunshot holes on the outside of my house. Like I grew up in the hood for all intensive purposes, on a street with gang violence and a lot of stuff. And so like for me, my life was very much about like, what can I do? What can I accomplish to get myself out of here, to get my family out of here, to do. And then doing those things, what I realized and what brought me to this path that I'm on now is after doing all of those things, getting a full ride scholarship to go to college, accomplishing everything that I thought I needed to accomplish, I realized that I was still miserable.
Right.
Like I got to UCLA, I'm out of the closet, I'm living this life that seemed like it was the dream that
And
I
I
had.
have to just say,
Yeah.
congratulations, congratulations, congratulations. Those are all huge things. Like coming
Yeah.
out of the closet alone
Yeah.
is huge.
Massive. Massive.
People
Yeah.
don't get that one. People don't
Yeah.
get what a big deal that shit is.
Yeah.
So I just had to slow you down on that, because coming out of the closet, getting into a great university, these are things that took a lot to begin with.
Yeah. Exactly. And thank you for slowing down on that, because it is important to recognize. And I think the thing that I feel so grateful that I learned just at a young age, like it was a lesson that hit me really early, is I'm 18 years old. I get to UCLA. My life looks on the outside better than I ever dreamed it could look,
Mm.
right? Better. And on the inside, I would look in the mirror and I would realize I still feel exactly like the little kid who was in a home with gunshot holes, who's scared, who's insecure, who's afraid. Like I didn't feel any better being in this new environment. And that's when I was like, it actually spiraled me into a little bit of a depression, because I was like, wait a second, this is not what was supposed to happen at the end of this. Like I was supposed to be happy now, right? Once I changed my external. And I think this is just a lesson
Mhm.
that we constantly learn in different ways. Is like we can try to change the external as much as we want, but if we haven't really done the revolution inside, then none of the external changes really have the lasting impact or the effect that we want them to have. you know
So true. I was just thinking about the expression, home is where the heart is.
yeah.
And because you're in Bali right now, and I'm going back to Bali. I'm going to Costa Rica, then Nepal, then Bali.
We're doing opposites. I'm in Bali, and then I'm not doing Nepal, but then I'm going to Costa Rica. So
Oh
we'll be
yeah.
we'll be warming them up for each other.
Oh yeah, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, there's something about travel, um, that you can get homesick.
Yeah.
You can get homesick, and it's really not always it's never really the place that you're homesick for, unless there's something you like about the weather or something like that, or the nature. But it's really the people you're homesick
Yeah.
for. It's
Yeah.
people you love.
Yeah. The connections.
Yeah. And so it's like the paradigm shift. We hear that phrase a lot, like there's like a global collective paradigm shift. There's a global collective awakening and all that. What does it really mean? It's like, it really means that thing that happens when my heart explodes open. It means
Yeah.
a bunch of us are going to have that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it actually, as beautiful and as exciting as like this new age is, this new era, this, shifting of the, into the Aquarian age and all of that we hear, so beautiful. Yes. And all of it, thank you. Yes. Amen. But also the medicine required to fulfill that, to truly walk through that process is, requires tenacity and practice and purging and acknowledgement of, all of
Yeah.
our shadow areas.
Yeah. No, fully. I'm with you on that. Like 1,000%. I have very little to add to what you just said, actually, because I
Well,
just agree.
I
Yeah.
mean, like what's coming up for me around that is like this idea that when you're in the medicine space, uh, whether it's ceremonial plant medicine or any other kinds of medicine, there are purges that come up, whether it's tears or other emotions or whatever can come up and kind of overtake you as you release. What we do as space holders is hold space, and we honor that. A lot of times we'll fan somebody who's having an emotional moment, or we'll put our hand on their back, and it's like really honoring that when you're doing a lot, having a TV show, having an album, having another album, and continuing to carry the torch, the mantle that comes with the book and all of the other work that you do. Many of the people listening are overachievers also. So
Mhm.
the things that we do, they are, and they do carry within them these transformative purge opportunities.
Yeah.
And so in those times, it's so important to, if you're not being fanned by somebody, uh,
Mm.
it's important to fan yourself.
I
And
love that.
if you're not being held, it's important to hold yourself.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, you know, when you're talking about holding yourself and just holding, what I feel is just how important it is to hold space for like all the challenging things that come up within us. And especially those of us who are busy working towards our purpose, like continuing to strive and move forward and, all these kinds of type A overachiever kinds of things,
Mhm.
which can be beautiful. They create a lot of magic and beauty in the world. But
Mhm.
there is a need for us to really be able to slow down and hold just space for what's really there underneath. I went last night to a breathwork class here at this place called Pyramids of Chi,
Mhm.
and it was so beautiful because I haven't done that in a really long time, and I had this huge release, like just massive, massive release that I wasn't expecting because I haven't been feeling particularly sad or like there's been all this exciting stuff happening and I've just been moving with it. And once I got still for 2 hours and did the breath work, it was like, oh, there was all that under there,
Mhm.
And so if we don't, this is one thing that I say all the time, all the time, all the time, we could be love and light all we want. But if we don't look in the shadow, if we don't look at what's hiding underneath, then all of our work, all of our activism, all of our creativity just gets colored by our unresolved wounding.
Mhm.
It all is colored by our unresolved wounding, all of our relationships, and we don't see it because
Mhm.
that's why it's in the shadow. But when we can create that space through different rituals, like you're talking about, of purging and practicing, whether it's through whatever modality you use, but that is specifically there to help release, there's so much there just somatically that
Mhm.
we can let go of to create space to make sure that what we're creating in the world, and when I say creating, I don't just mean artistically. I mean like your relationships,
Right.
like your body, like your home. What we're creating can be cleaner. It can be made from a cleaner energy.
Oh, I love that. I love the word choice, uh,
Mm,
that it can be cleaner. I think about like the sort of like the somatic imprint or the somatic residue of our experiences, like you're referring to.
yeah.
And I
Yeah.
see like our vibration and our light and our heartbeat and everything that radiates from us sort of like tuned to the key of the residue, you know?
Mm, Is that the key? There we go. That's great. Oh my God, I love this metaphor. You know, as a musician, I love this metaphor. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me, you came out with 2 albums.
Yeah. So, well, okay.
Meditation
So
album, a guided
yeah,
meditation album, and
yeah,
you're also a beautiful singer, you're a musician. And so you
yeah.
also came out with, you're like living the
Music
full dream,
album.
by the way. You're living my childhood dream right now. So I just want
Oh,
to just like my inner child is like your biggest fan right now. Um,
oh.
so tell me about what that journey is like. I especially want to hear about the music album.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, it's so what's been really exciting, and to frame this, I just have to tell you a little bit about the show because it's been this real integration. And
Amazing.
so,
That's where I was going
yeah,
next. I want to hear about
yeah.
this.
So they all kind of tie together. So I filmed a streaming TV show with Sounds True. Sounds True is my publisher that published my books, my first book, and then my second book that'll be coming. And they launched a streaming TV network that is, you know, doing spiritual, personal growth, conscious television. It's phenomenal.
Love
And I was so grateful. They reached out to me and they were like, "We want to do a show with you." And I was like, "Really?" I was like, you know, I was so excited. And so we built out this show that, in a nutshell, is I travel around the country, around the United States, meeting these young Generation Z activists and change makers who people look at as like these strong, young Gen Z people who are going to change the world.
Yes,
And
love.
so, keeping with the theme of what we've been talking about, actually, like I go and I meet them, I kind of Anthony Bourdain into their world, you know, and see and show all the amazing things they're doing. And then we use personal growth practices to see what's underneath, like what's really happening for them underneath. And
Mm.
every single one of them had massive either mental health issues, emotional things going on, big vulnerability. And they opened these kids. I mean, I won't call them kids, they're adults, but they're college students or a little older. And they opened up so vulnerably. And what they were dealing with, you know, were things like imposter syndrome, you know, being 21 and everybody thinking you're going to save the world, and you doing some big movement and now all this pressure on you to do it. And, you
Right.
know, lots of different things, queer, some of things with being queer and being comfortable with yourself. And so sharing all of this because what we did is we did different work, shadow work, internal work to help them break through. And then we surprised them and we actually had them turn that pain into art, and we wrote a song with them. And
Love.
then I went to the recording studio and we actually made an album of all the songs. And then we made a meditation album so that other people watching could do the practices that I did with the activists in the show. And so it's so cool to have all of it very integrated. And so we have like the show, which was attached to this meditation album so people can practice the inner practices, and then the songs. And what's so fun about the songs is all the activists, and none of them are really singers in that way.
Mhm.
Some of them are really shockingly good though. Like they've like kicked some ass at it, but they're all on the album. And so they got to sing like a duet with me. And so anyway, I didn't even say the name of the show. The name of the show is called Inside Change.
Love.
Inside Change. And so if you look that up on like anywhere, Spotify, Apple Music, you'll hear the music. Or if you go on Sounds True, you'll hear the album. And then the meditation album is called Meditation for the People. And so you can just find all of that really by searching my name.
Amazing. I'll put all of that in the show notes.
Thank you. Yeah. So it just has been the coolest journey to, and a real, I'll tell you the real thing for me, Ben. This was the real thing. And I think you'll resonate with this. And I think a lot of people will. We have these parts of ourselves that we separate, right? So there's like this part of myself that's an artist, and there's this part of myself that's a spiritual teacher, a meditation teacher, and there's this part of myself that does this, and this part of myself that does this. And I think many of us have that. We're like, well, I'm a photographer, but I'm also a yoga teacher, but I'm also a this, and I also do business. And what this project called of me, my inner work was, no, Sounds True said, we're integrating all of it. And so for me to do that, it caused me to see where I was creating unnecessary separation in myself. and let these parts of me that have sometimes competed, like the music's Justin has had to compete at times with the spiritual Justin, like at least I've created that condition in my head. And so I just think about people who we create these separations inside of ourselves for whatever reason society makes us think we have to put stuff in a box. But what I have learned and what I want to make sure everybody listening knows is like, you are just so much stronger when you can integrate these things together, because you are a whole person. And that's what has happened this year for me, which has been a massive gift. So.
Well, I think that's amazing. And I think that's an amazing model that you're embodying. And the greatest art project that any one of us can create is our life.
Our life. Yeah.
Yeah. And how we imprint the Akashic records, in some of my books, I refer to it as the Akashic theater, because as an actor, as a musician myself, also, I've always related to that idea of the performance and what goes into the performance. And so when we think that our ancestors and our descendants and us and all of our other lifetimes, or us in heaven or whatever, when we think about us as the audience and just our private moments are the performance.
Yes. You are giving with these metaphors today. I just have to say, sir.
You just like me. You just like me.
I do like you. I love you, actually. And so, but these metaphors are really powerful, and I love the intersection of like the art in it, because we take so much from art.
Yes.
We take so much from music. We take so much from theater. We take so much from film, and there's a lot that we actually learn about our lives from it. And that's why, like, when people ask me, even like, well, why do I do music? Like, I write books and I speak and do retreats. Like, what about music? I'm like, what about music? Like, it's there always, it's like that thing that emotionally wakes us up. And it is actually medicine itself. And so anyway, I love that you're just making all those artistic references. So,
well, I so appreciate that about your just approach to your work. What I've often said is, back in the day, all of us were singing. Okay. Before we were listening to the radio, it's like the radio stopped us from singing. We used to just,
unless you're in the car singing your heart out to the radio.
Yeah, exactly.
I know that's me.
Yeah, that's true. But I just mean, like, on a historic perspective, I think more people used to sing, and it used to be less about I'm a singer versus I'm not a singer.
Yeah.
It's sort of like we're singing and we're singing together. And I love that you use the word art, because there is an art to everything, to relationships, to communicating, to intimacy, to healing.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's the whole, and I love how you integrated all those different aspects of your passion and of your heart into like this release with Inside Change, your show, which is amazing. And I can't wait to watch. And I love that you're amplifying the voices of empowered young people who are working towards important, meaningful ends, which is something you really
crazy. Ben, isn't it crazy that we're not the young people anymore?
Oh my God.
How did that happen?
You were talking and you were like talking about interviewing these Gen Z activists. And I'm like, wow, Gen Z is old enough. Wow. Okay. Yeah. They're doing,
I know.
things. They're fully, they have been. It's not even new. They've been doing things,
Yeah. It was so funny. Like, I was there with them, and I remember just feeling like I was at one of the students, Aman. I was at UPenn interviewing him and filming with him. And like, we had this round table with all of his friends, and they're all, juniors and seniors in college. And like, I could just feel like, oh my God, they're so young. Like, they look so young. And I remember just thinking like, oh God, when did this happen? How did millennials suddenly become older and out of touch? Like, we totally, Anyway, it's such a trip how time does that.
I just turned 35.
Yeah,
And
so we're about the same age.
yeah, when's your birthday?
February 22nd, I'm a Pisces. So I
Nice.
just turned 34. I'll be 35 next year.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I'm a Libra,
Ah,
September 27th. And so yeah, it was so interesting. Like I saw a meme that just spoke to my soul, as they sometimes do. And it said, I'll just insert my own age in there because she said it said a much younger age, but I'll just insert my own age. And she said, I sometimes think about how much I'd love to be a parent, but then I think, wow, having a baby at 35, poor teen parents. Well, I just can't be a teen parent. I'm 35. I can't be a teen parent. I'm not
oh my
quite ready
God.
to be a teen parent. But you know what's so interesting about that? That's such a false mental narrative because so many amazing people. One of the people I love and respect the most in the universe has a son. She had a son really, really young, and that son is like so sharp and so healthy and so present. And she's got her life, you know, she's fully like embodied in herself.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to like discourage any young parents right then
No. Well,
into my own entry.
yes. Yes. I think there's a lot of dynamic. And since I'm not a parent, I'm not going to speak to parenting, but there's a lot of dynamic there
But you are an
that
uncle.
I am an uncle and it's the best. I freaking love being an uncle. Yeah, gunkle at that. So
Yep.
love it.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so inside change. First of all, I'm obsessed with that title. That's
Oh, thank you.
so much energy in that. That's beautiful. May it be picked up by HBO or whatever.
Great.
So bless that project and all that you're doing. And I love the idea of the album having all of the activists in that and infusing and holding a microphone to literally to these activists and inviting their soul's magic to come through, which is just like so amazing. And that's so crucially needed in activism.
Yeah. Well, and I think this is the other piece is remembering that everybody has a voice to share, right? And so it's cool that we put the mic up to these activists, which is great. And like, hopefully the intention is from it to amplify the voices of all different kinds of people of all backgrounds. And I think that right now we're living in such an interesting time where, I guess all times, or people say that every decade, but what's happening now, we're having such an interesting paradigm shift around who gets the mic. And I don't know that I think we're at a place in the evolution of it I would just say this is my opinion, where, we've done this dance where there's been certain people who've had the mic throughout history. And then we've said, okay, now we want to take the mic from these people and put it in the hands of these people and amplify these voices. And I think as a part of the healing process in our evolution, there's sometimes an overcorrection there, which I think is necessary. We all do that. I think in our inner, as we're healing, we overcorrect. And then now I'm seeing and hoping that we continue to see a balance come, because like, we don't live in this binary world where it's like, well, these people have the mic and this toxic masculinity or whatever it is that we're calling it, and then flipping it over to the other side also isn't going to create the healing and balance that we need, swinging the pendulum. And that can be any side of the divides that we see, from conservative to liberal, to the masculine to the feminine, from Black Lives Matter to whatever you else you want to call whatever it is, and so what I think we're learning, I hope we can get this lesson soon enough, is that the real power is when we come together in union. And it takes us being able to actually come together to amplify the voices that cast a wider net, that we're actually going to be able to stop pointing the finger of blame at one another and actually start to point the finger at the things that are causing the problems in the first place, which in most cases is not each other. And so it's really, such a trip. And I know I just kind of like took that in a very different direction, but it's what I'm really feeling when I'm talking about, passing the mic right now. So.
Well, I really respect everything that you said, and I so appreciate it. And I can see, it's like when something starts to change on a large scale like that, we see all the different communities that have any level of impact with it responding. And then each community, what people don't realize when we talk about diversity, what people don't realize is each community that we want to oversimplify into a demographic, each community is internally diverse.
Yeah, absolutely.
In all kinds of ways that we don't think about because you can't always see them.
Yeah.
So it's not just like it's the queer community is not just some lesbians, some gays, cis males, some trans people, some blah, blah, blah. It's, yes, that's part of it. That's part of our internal diversity. We also have all of the many races in that community. We also, on another level, we see the world differently, dude. Like every one of us has our own opinions.
Yeah.
So identity politics, I think the transformation of identity politics into something new, because I think it's caused harm with like, I hate to get too specific, but like with Trump, I think we saw a lot of people who identify with conservative values, or who consider themselves very American, true blue American. They've got the flag in the front yard. I think there were a lot of people, because of the oversimplification that identity politics creates, I think a lot of people were swept up in to much more extreme, to supporting much more extreme ideals than they ever would have if they really had a relationship to the issues themselves. But because we treat politics and other issues like that sort of like a team player sport, like I'm a Lakers fan. I'm a Republican. I'm it's like political hobbyism versus political engagement or activism.
Yes. Yeah. And the team sport, the team element that you're talking about is what's challenging, because it doesn't make sense to be on team Democrat or team Republican. We want to be on team humanity. You know what I mean? Or team planet and earth and humanity. And so what does that look like? Whatever political party we are talking about it is, doesn't matter. What matters is what is actually occurring. And I love that you said that, from like shifting from the team element into engagement in a really deep way, makes it really powerful. And I think one of the things that I'll say that I had just a really beautiful lesson in early, it's been, I guess, many years ago now, but I have family members who are my family, my blood family, who are lovely, amazing, caring, kind, magical human beings that I would argue that to the ends of the earth with and fight for them to the ends of the earth with, who voted for Trump. And it actually was a beautiful experience for me, because I had to really sit with all my thoughts about this, and knowing these people and how amazing they really were. And that doesn't say that that's a blanket statement about everybody, but what it does come to say is that what I have seen to be true in traveling all over the world, all over the United States, working with all different kinds of people and all different companies, all different backgrounds, is that my experience is that most people are good. Most people are not that extreme. Most people actually really want pretty much the same stuff for the most part. And there are obviously nuances in how we think we should get there and how it should happen, and religious beliefs and all these kinds of things. But when we're focusing on the team sport, what are team sports supposed to do? Compete. Right. And so we just focus on the separation and then compete about the separation instead of actually amplifying the things that are bringing us together. And so this has been just like a big, a big part of what I've been evolving in politically, and the union element of it, of what we talk about with spirituality. And for me, to be honest with you, and I've been saying this everywhere, because maybe one day somebody will start it, but I think we need literally just a completely new political party, and not an independent, not just like a super, 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 ultra liberal new political party, but like the party that keeps coming into my head is called the United Party. We are the United States of America. If people were listening, like you have the red, the blue, whatever, the United Party, where it's not just like some amalgamation of the two or some super centrist, but like for people who are choosing to come together and choosing to believe and focus on the issues that we could actually amplify, that we all agree upon, and starting there. And so I think there's a real opportunity in our time right now to not be constantly in this binary team sport competition, and for us to use the spirituality and practices that we learned about union and bringing this all together. So I will get off my soapbox now.
I put that soapbox out just for you to stand on it and do.
Thank you. I took it.
Yeah, that's what it's here for. And I so appreciate that. And I relate and have worked in politics, as you know. And
yes.
And for me, I think it's really like no more political parties. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I need to deal with these people on a one-by-one basis, please.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Actually, yeah. Forget the whole party thing altogether.
Right. It's mega corrupt. It's totally
Oh my God.
No, dude, that's not even real. No. Like
I've never even had that thought to just get rid of the parties altogether. That's great, Ben, because then you just kind of like, then you just deal with the person,
right,
and what they're bringing to the table. Yeah.
Some people are rightfully concerned about the idea of like any form of global governance, rightfully so. That's,
I understand.
Absolute power corrupts, absolutely. But when you really tune into the people who are most dedicated to the United Nations, for example, the United Nations is a body made up of people who actually give a shit. Like if you really tune into what people at the United Nations are doing, they're trying. They're really trying. They're not totalitarian crazy people. When we have like these fears of like globalism and all of that, it's like there's something to be said about people who can appreciate the order that political organization can bring. And I think that if we were to eliminate parties, we're in a situation where our United Nations become more intimate also. It's like our internal divide evaporates, and as without, so within, as as within, so without.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
So it's like this relationship will change. The relationship to like yes or no, non-binary. Someone was also recently, I was listening to NPR, someone was arguing about gay marriage. There was this, it felt like I was back in time, and they were having this argument about why men shouldn't be able to marry each other. And I just was like, I'm sorry, every argument you're giving me is religious based on your religion. Yeah. So your interpretation of what you guys think your religion is all about and what you guys have decided your religion is all about. Okay. So like, that's the whole point of separation of church and state. Why is marriage so regulated to begin with? And I went into like what the benefits and purpose of, in today's world, of marriage, of legal marriage, what it is legally today. And it's essentially co-signing on everything for somebody. Yeah. And I'm sorry, like that has nothing to fucking do with other people's religion or other people's belief. And also this is going to sound controversial because it's going to sound like I'm talking about something I'm not talking about. But when it comes to the legal intention and modern day purpose of marriage, a legal marriage, there's no reason that gender or sex or sexuality is even a factor at all. And there's also no reason that only two people can marry together. You know, it's going to sound crazy because my family was Mormon, and back in the day used to have so many wives, you know. And that's not what I'm talking about. But people without families, who find each other, who develop deep relationships with each other, who make it through challenges together. When you do prison work and work with the unhoused, and you start to like go into some of the gnarlier, scarier places where people are in deep desperation, literally there are three people can sign that document together, and they can be in on that together, and they should be able to be in on that together and dwell together in one household and have tax benefits for dwelling together in one household. It's like, you look at the legal benefits of getting married has nothing to do with sex, intimacy, romance, those kinds of relationships. Like there's an entire, I guess what I'm just saying is there's an entire like overhaul on these majorly outdated perspectives that informed all these laws.
No, listen, we are living in a fascinating time where everything that has been is getting questioned and adjusted. And I think that that's an important thing, and we'll see how far and where those adjustments go, you know, in this time, and what we as like the ancestors of now, you know, are the soon to be are what we're gonna do with it. And it's just such a powerful way, you know, to show up. And I think that, you know, I love thinking of this infinity symbol, and just, you know, we are soon to be in the ancestor part of the infinity symbol. You know, we got about 100 years in these bodies if we're lucky. And then, you know, what are we doing that are like the dreams that our ancestors couldn't dream, the actions that they couldn't take, the things that they couldn't do? And then how are we setting up the next generation to stand on our shoulders and continue to do more? And what direction it goes, like we have no idea. Like if humanity lasts, and, you know, we can think even thousands of years into the future, which really isn't that much time in this grand scheme of the universe, you know, like so much is going to change. And so, you know, we may one day be just the entire structure of the world may be completely different at some point. And so, but it all kind of builds upon the shoulders of what we're doing now. So we'll see, you know, we will see, and we'll be a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I think the creative ways that you're expressing your work is one of my favorite ways that you're embodying that change. You know, doing it differently, sort of navigating your own creative model for how you want to express. And yeah, thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Ben. I'm just a reflection of all your magic too. So I'm grateful to be here.
Ah, shucks. Well, yeah, I mean, I think this is all really exciting. Congratulations on that new show. I think that is just one of those things that has so much meaning in a world where there's so much content that doesn't have meaning. It's really special to see and hear something so meaningful. So I love the way that you're bridging the personal growth work with social change. And I love the double entendre with inside change.
Yeah.
It's, you know, we're getting an inside look with all these change makers, and also, you know, the real themes are the inner change that only the individual can do for themselves.
Yep.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, I just had to let you know that I got it.
Yeah, you did. Thank you.
I just wanted to spell it out because I just really, really thought it was beautiful. And we didn't even get a chance to talk much about your book, Stay Woke, but I'll have that link in the show notes here. I wanted to talk about all of the beautiful synchronicities, seeing you in Bali when Sa and I were out there, And you actually held space for me in a really beautiful moment. That story will have to be told one day. And also seeing you in Topanga with Carrie Kelly and Jeff Krasno at Commune, where I first heard a reading from your book. So so there are some stories I want to tell. So you're invited back.
Yay. I'll be back. We have much more to talk about.
Yes, love that. Okay, thanks so much. More soon.
Love you. Bye-bye.